Hello people, welcome back to my channel and let's learn what is vertical scaling. So vertical scaling is a concept of system design where you want to basically scale your system so that you can accept more number of requests, more throughput, more users can use your machine without going into a failure or downtime. So let's understand what is vertical scaling. So let's say there is a machine. I have taken AWS EC2, that is Amazon Web Services EC2 instance. You must be aware of that. And let's say it has a core or CPU core 2 and the RAM is 1 GB. We have defined the limitation on the resources of this AWS EC2 machine. It is having a CPU of 2 core and a RAM of 1 GB. And there is an application deployed on this AWS EC2, and that is library management system, where people can do the subscription and basically pay the bills and other things. So this is a library management system. When people will use this library management system, so they will come, they will initiate some request, get some response. As soon as the library management system will become viral, or let's say more number of people are using it, so there will be more number of requests on it. So let's understand the RAM and CPU usage on low throughput. So let's say this is the graph of my CPU usage, where like the y-axis says the percentage of CPU used and this is the time. Like I've given an interval of every 10 minutes, but this is just like for demonstration purpose. So this is the CPU usage, and when there's low throughput, like less number of students are using it, less number of teachers are using it, the maximum usage of the CPU goes up to 25%, which looks normal. Like we have 100% capacity, but still the CPU is normal, like only 20 to 25% is being used and the system is functioning very fine. It is returning the response within the time. The RAM usage is also what, since we have given a 1 GB of RAM, which represent let's say 1000 MB. So basically the RAM usage maximum goes up to 250 MB or 300 MB, which is depicted here. So this is the RAM and CPU usage on low throughput. Now let's say there's a high throughput, more number of users are coming on the system. So what happens? The CPU usage goes up. So you can see that the CPU usage will go up and it can reach up to 95%. And same way for the RAM also, the amount of memory that is being used increases and it can go up to 950 or let's say 800 MB. When the system reaches this state, that is high CPU and high RAM, so it will not function correctly because most of the resources are being choked up, it is getting used and the system can fail. So basically your server can crash because it has the CPU usage is very high and the RAM usage is very high. So what happens here is like we can increase the CPU and the RAM of the machine, which can allow it to take more load. So what we are saying that we have given a 1 GB of RAM and let's say 2 core CPU. So as soon as the load increases, so we can increase it to let's say 5 GB of RAM and let's say 6 core of machine. So now it can accept this much load. So the process where we are increasing the scalability of the application or allow the application to accept more load by increasing the RAM and CPU or the resources of that particular machine is called vertical scaling. So I'm repeating it again. So whenever you increase the RAM and CPU and other resources of the machine so that it can accept more load, more throughput, so that particular methodology is called as vertical scaling. So there are some advantages and disadvantages of vertical scaling. So let's go to the advantages. So no extra services are added to increase the scalability. So what we are doing is we are just increasing the RAM and CPU of the current system. That is a single system. So what happens, there is no extra services that needs to be added. So no extra services are added, so it doesn't increase the complexity of the application. Also it is easy to increase the resources of your machine. So what you need to do is like whenever there is a high load or high CPU, just increase the resources and redeploy it. So it is very easy to increase the resource of your machine. Now, what is the disadvantages of vertical scaling? It has a limit because you can't increase the CPU and RAM of the application infinitely. So there is no machine where you can infinitely increase the CPU and RAM. So that's why there is a limitation. So this is the disadvantage of vertical scaling. It is more costly because of the high CPU and RAM for a single machine. So if you try to build a RAM, let's say of 1 TB RAM or let's say 100 core of CPU, as soon as you increase the amount of CPU and RAM and it goes to a higher level, so it becomes more costly and costly because we don't have such type of machines in the current world. Like you can't increase it infinitely, and also as soon as you go to a higher number, the cost also increases. Again, there will be a single point of failure. Let's say you are deploying only a single machine and you are increasing the resources. So if that machine goes down, then all your application will go down. User will start receiving the error. So that becomes a single point of failure. So this is the advantage and disadvantage of the vertical scaling. So again, I'm repeating, the vertical scaling is a paradigm of system design where you allow the application to handle more load, more throughput by increasing the resources like RAM and CPU. So this is called as vertical scaling. So I have already written a blog post here. You can go to this selftuts.in and there is what is vertical scaling and you can see the details here. So I have already written everything here. So I'll put this in the descriptions below. So hope you like this video, hope you like my channel. Please share these videos with other people and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.